All right. Hi, how are you?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming to speak to my classes today. So we are so fortunate today to have Miss Emma Gonzalez, and I've known her for a while now. We taught together at a charter school in Nashville, and now she has a lot of new things going on. So I asked her to come speak to you all today because she is publishing her own book. And as you all know, you're working on genres, and the one that you're working on right now are proposal essays to think about problems that need solutions in the world. And Miss Gonzalez has a really amazing children's book that she's working on that definitely fulfills all of those things, talking about proposals, talking about representation in different areas in life. So I'm really excited to have her here today. I know you all recently, last week, watched the video Crip Camp about the revolution with disability rights, right, and civil rights, because I know we talk a lot about isms, right, and feminism and racism, but one ism that is not talked about enough at all in our country and just globally in the world, right, is discrimination against people who don't have the same like ableism, right? And they're considered oftentimes kind of back in the shadows, or because their bodies, their minds, different things are considered not normal, right? They don't have as much access to seeing themselves in books, on the screen, lots of things. So it is hugely important. I'm so excited to have Emma talk to y'all today. Miss Gonzalez, sorry, Emma.
Oh,
Um, all right, so I'm gonna let her talk for a while about what she's got going on.
hey everyone. So I'm so excited to hear that you have a teacher that is really bringing this to your attention. I think that's amazing. A lot of times we hear about diversity, but there are so many types of diversity. And I really learned about that. I think when I was younger, I thought diversity was just purely your skin color, but it is religion and socioeconomic class and height and weight and just simple things like that could be diverse. Something that has made me really diverse over the years is my disability. So I was born with muscular dystrophy, and there is no cure, so I'm going to have that forever. And so when I was a little girl, I didn't really think much of it. I was always in and out of hospitals, always in and out of wheelchairs. I thought, okay, this is going to be, this is just normal. This is what other people are going through. Then when I started to go to school and I saw, okay, none of the other kids are wearing casts, none of the other kids are in wheelchairs, what's going on? And then I realized that I was really different. And I think back and I wonder, would I have really thought I was that different if I had people in the media or teachers or firefighters or whoever that was going through something different? But to me, I was the only one. Muscular dystrophy, just to give you a little bit more context, is like a giant spectrum, I like to say. So muscular dystrophy, it's broken down as that your muscles work differently than other people. You have some sort of issue with your muscles. Well, your muscles are all over your body, obviously. So there are some people who have muscular dystrophy and it affects their inner muscles, like their heart and their lungs. Then there are people like me who it affects their outer body. So my arms, my legs, my hands, my feet. So from a very young age, I wasn't walking when I was supposed to walk, and my muscles were just functioning differently. And so other parts of my body had to kind of take over and work because my muscles weren't working. So because of that, I started to get a little bit of deformities in my feet. And so I've had to always correct those over the years. And so now I'm 28 and I've had about 8 surgeries and been in and out of wheelchairs from a little girl all the way up till I think maybe I was 25 was the last time I really had to take a step back, but really grateful for my family for totally normalizing it in my house and making it just this fun thing. I remember my parents buying me a little bell so I could drive my little brother crazy and ring the bell and make him come get me popsicles and stuff. And so they always, helped me out. But I think in the real world, it was a different ball game for me. And so it was kind of the other people who weren't knowledgeable about it making these silly judgments or not thinking that I was capable. like, like Miss Hanson said, with my brain. And so that was something I really had to fight through. So I became a teacher, and one of the students I had in my 4th year as a teacher, she had a disability as well that affected her legs. And it actually has caused her legs to be bow-legged because her tibia has not grown in the way it should. So her legs have kind of like my situation, had kind of had to compensate in other ways, which caused this deformity to happen. So nobody really knew at the school that I had a disability. And when I had that student, I remember being really excited that we could build a relationship with each other. So I pulled her aside and I let her know, like, yeah, Miss G also has different legs too. So I'm excited, you and I will have to watch out for each other. And so I remember feeling so excited to buy books for her. So I went to the library, went to the bookstore, and I went online, and I just couldn't really find a children's book that was an exciting book, about adventures or someone who's smart, or, I mean, all these books are just books about how, maybe describing what it's like to be in a wheelchair, or maybe the child is so sad they're in a wheelchair. It wasn't really just, hey, here's a book about a magical adventure, and it just so happens the main character is in a wheelchair. And I thought, well, we need more books out there. So I was invited to go to Harvard University one fall, a few months in that same year. And we all were asked to bring a book about diversity. We talked all these teachers all around the world came, and we kind of talked about, what does diversity mean? And I still felt like it was very heavy on race. And so I was kind of able to use my voice as a way of saying, hey, I know it's not something we talk about often, but what about the disabled community? So I just by happenstance sat next to a published author, and I shared with her my idea of writing a book or books about children with disabilities. And she said, well, the best thing in the world is if an author has a disability. You don't want to try to write one of one that you don't have. And she didn't even know I had a disability. And so it was kind of eye-opening. And I thought, well, maybe I can tell my story. And that's what I've done. So that was about 2.5 years ago, and I started writing my story. It's called Emma Grace and the Red Party Dress, and it is about my 2nd grade Valentine's Day party. And I remember it was I was maybe 8 years old, and it was my very first time having a major surgery where I needed to be in a wheelchair for a while. And I had one purple cast and one pink cast, and I remember feeling so, nervous to go and tell my classmates, but my mom bought me a new red party dress. And so I've always loved fashion, and I've always loved to be dressy and do my hair and things like that. So I remember feeling like I can do this because I have my new red dress and my new red bow, and all is well. And so it tells the story of feeling empowered despite something that might make you nervous or might make you different from other people. Is that, you can be disabled and be fashionable. You can be disabled and be smart, and you can be disabled and be funny and be an athlete, right? And those are not always words that we associate with disabilities. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted someone to say, oh, Emma Grace, she looks good in that dress. I didn't, even though she's in a wheelchair, she looks pretty, and she's smart, and she's funny, and she's adventurous. So that's sort of where we are now.
Yeah, and I love that she was discussing, right, that at first when she met the published author, right, that she was like a book, but now I think she kind of alluded to it, right, but she's actually thinking about making an entire series, right, about Emma Grace. So I know since the last time we spoke, you've probably like had a tons more creative ideas and stuff, but so are you planning on getting other people collaborating, like talking about other students or friends that Emma is going to like collaborate with? I know you said when you were younger, it wasn't actually like that, right? There weren't a lot of students like you, but now I don't know if that might be something you could incorporate other students who also have differences, either with diversity in various ways or possibly disabilities. I didn't know what all you were thinking of so far.
I love that. Well, in my first book, my best friend Meg is in the book, and she's completely fine. She's 100% capable physically and was an athlete. So the first book was really about how she loved me despite my disability. And in the book, I talk about how my legs are kind of like the green jello in the cafeteria. Like they wiggle and jiggle and no one really likes the green jello. And then at the end, it shows a picture of me and Meg eating green jello because she loves it.
No.
And so I wanted to normalize someone who is physically fine befriending someone who needs a little bit of help. And Meg, you know, has always helped me in my wheelchair. She's always thought of, you know, walking and, you know, different kind of physical things that not many other people have to worry about on a day-to-day basis, and how she's loved me through that. But yes, I would love to have other characters in the future who might, you know, might have hearing impairments or vision impairments, or maybe, you know, they have reading disabilities or whatever it may be, because I think that we just need more books that are mirrors of the kids that we see every day in school.
Exactly. And again, right, it might be in the classroom, it might be at work, but I even like thinking of like pop culture, TV, movies. There's so many times, like what the lady was saying, that you said you inadvertently, right? Like we're like, oh, I didn't even think about that, that I actually have a story to tell because of my disability. Because like you said, I would never have known had you not shared that with me, because we worked together for like an entire year, and that was the first time I'd ever had heard, right, that you had a disability. She was like one of the most amazing teachers, and she was anyway, right, despite any kind of other things. But like other than her talking about that relationship she had with her student, right, unless sometimes you tell your story, put it out there, right, advocate for others and share your voice, then other people might not feel right representative. But then if you can share your story and create like a solution to a problem, or right, what she's doing, right, is just making representation for students and hopefully just children all over to enjoy this Emma Gray series. But like thinking of like television and movies, what are some like examples y'all can think of like television movies where you have seen somebody with a disability on screen? I know like when I was younger, I'd seen the movie like Rain Man, right? He has like autism, but then Dennis Hoffman really didn't have that disease, right? And then there's like what was that show? It's the guy Heisenberg. He's like a teacher, and he like he gets cancer, and he has to like make drugs. It's like Breaking Bad.
Oh yes, yep.
Yeah, his son, I think, had cerebral palsy in that, and he really does, right? So to me, it seems so much more impactful if the person actually does have it, because then it's their story. They're not like transforming, and you know, that would be like back in the olden days, right, when they used to get women to play boys on stage because women weren't supposed to act, or like, you know, different things like that. But now, even still, like I remember seeing the show Glee, the one little girl, Becky, she was a cheerleader, and she really did have a disease, but then the boy in the wheelchair did not. He really wasn't in a wheelchair. So it just seems so much more empowering and impactful if someone actually can speak to the story and it's their story, right? Because then they can actually say how this feels, what their experience was that they were pouring into the story, right? Or the role or the character. So I'm really excited to hear more about it. And actually, while this book is in process, we are actually going to get a really sneak peek of it, right? Because she has some like drawings, artwork, things that she's working on. So I'm super excited to see what she has to share with us today. And this is like first time ever. So y'all should be super excited.
I am super excited. I actually was lucky enough to work with an illustrator who is a friend of mine. So I really had no idea how I was going to make this book. I have always struggled financially as a teacher, and I think life is expensive. And when you aren't super rich, you think, can I chase my dreams? Can I do this? And so for a while, I thought, I don't have the money to make a book. And when I tell you, you can do anything, because there are people who have so many talents that are going to help you out. And this illustrator, actually, my mom nannies for her. And I reached out to her and said, hey, I know you're in the art community. Do you know of anyone who'd be willing to help me to illustrate this book? And she was like, me, I'm going to do it. I love this idea. And she has been working with me every single week since. So, and then the editor we had I reached out on LinkedIn to people, and she said, hey, I know someone with a disability in my family. This tugs on my heart. I would love to edit it. And it's just been these miracles of these people who who are like, I love this book. I love that this is coming to fruition. Let me help you get there.
Right.
So
And
you
that's a
can do
perfect testament,
anything.
I was going to say, to what Miss Gonsalves was saying, right? If you have a dream, right, you might think I'm not like there yet, or I'm not financially stable to do this, but use your resources. Do you hear? She like reached out to people she knew, reached out to like people her family knew, reached out to people on LinkedIn. So definitely like pool your resources, think out of the box, right? And don't limit yourself. So all right, I'm so
Yes.
excited to see all of these. And what is your illustrator's name, if you don't mind?
No, her name is Jamie Bannon, and she is just phenomenal. So this is really all of her work. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, so let's see here. I kind of got some files. Okay, so this is a good one. This is actually a photo of me when I was in second grade. So this was actually me on the very day.
Well, it shows your like attachments right now, but it didn't bring up the actual picture yet.
Oh, we didn't. Okay, let me see.
No, it's okay. I'm so excited to see what Miss Gonsalves looked like when she was little. Oh, so cute. Oh, and it's the exact part where you were talking about in the story with the two colored casts, the pink and the purple.
Yes. And so I wanted it to be as realistic as possible, right? Because this is my story. And it's like you said, like that boy in Glee who wasn't really in a wheelchair. Yep. I want my readers to be thinking, oh my gosh, she really was, and this is really her. Yep. And so that was me. And then this is just a sketch too, which is wild. This is just a sketch of what I'm gonna look like. So she has done a phenomenal job. And let me show you some more because, sorry, this technology always gets me.
I know some of y'all are really into creativity and art and things, right? So this is yet again something else speaking to how you can get involved in amazing projects and use your skills, use your passions.
Honestly, and you know, it's funny because she's never illustrated a book before, right? I've never written a book before. So we are two newbies who just have a passion for this. And we know it's going to be great because we won't settle for anything less than that, right? So it's been really cool. This is a really cool picture of this is actually a snapshot of us Zoom chatting a few weeks ago. And this is a sketch that she did. And something I've been learning a lot about writing a book is, she sometimes will take my words and cut and paste it and try to put it in little sections. So you'll see here, this is blank, and then this is blank. And we were talking, okay, does this make sense for where the words go? So there's so much more into it than we ever thought. But this is, me waking up in the morning. This is going to be the first page. And we were talking about colors. We were talking about, was my hair realistic? What would my body have done if I woke up in casts? Would I have been able to sit up that straight, right? So we're trying to make it as authentic as possible to make it as real as it was. And a lot of it wasn't pretty, right? A lot of it wasn't these perfectly wrapped casts. My knees were funky. They were turned in. My casts were itchy. So in it, you really see that. You see a little bear starting to itch my legs because it felt to me like it was like an itchy bear hug. So you see those moments of difficulty throughout the story.
I think I remember when you were talking to me about this, you were talking about one thing where you would have to like scoot down the stairs. Okay. I don't know if she's already illustrated that or if that's just like a part that you're definitely going to hone in on in the story.
Definitely. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, this is actually a really good one.
Y'all, this is so cool in case you have like younger siblings or kids. One day you can get an autograph and be like, look, I was in when Miss Gonsalves talked about her book that is now famous, this series, like the Amelia Bedelia series or like Madeline or something. It's going to be the Emma Grace series. I'm so excited.
You're amazing. Are you able to see this new picture I put up?
Not yet. I still see the one with the dress hanging on the door.
Okay, let me do this then.
Oh, I like that.
So this is a picture of my best friend pushing me in my wheelchair. And it's just a simple sketch, but you can see that here I am in this wheelchair, but I don't look sad. I'm excited because Meg always made me feel like I had won something.
I love how no matter what too, and y'all look so like right in the moment action.
Yes, it was so excited. She would always when all my friends and classmates would run to the carpet, like that wasn't my reality. I had to be wheeled to the carpet. And my arms were also weaker than a lot of people. So it was hard for me to actually wheel myself. Because Meg knew me so well and she was my best friend, she knew just to grab my wheelchair and start running with me. And it was so fun. And I remember always feeling like she just knew how to, she just got me, you know, and she knew that I would get anxiety about being different, and she would always make me feel beautiful. So that's one of the pictures too that we're working on. And I'm going to try to find the one of my parents, because that's a really cool one too.
So how long were you and Meg like able to be in the same class together, or how, and do you still keep in touch with her?
Yes, I'm actually the maid of honor in her wedding. So
Oh,
that, yeah, so we've been best friends ever since. Yeah, you know, I think growing up, they always gave me the opportunity and the option to make school different if I needed to. Like, hey, if you need to use the wheelchair or the elevator, if you need this, if you need that. And I think I just didn't want that. I wanted to be not as normal as possible, but I wanted to never use my MD as an excuse.
right.
So I was very careful about kind of taking advantage of those opportunities I had as someone with a disability, because I do strongly believe that even though I was in a wheelchair, if I used all those excuses, like, sorry, I have MD, I can't. Sorry, I have MD, I can't. I don't think I would be the person I am today.
Right. And y'all know how I feel about this, because I got certified, right, and teaching exceptional learners. So I love that she's talking about inclusivity, right, and actually like literally being included in everything, right, and not using her own disability, right, because a lot of parents and students, as you saw in the documentary we watched the other day, right? Some of the parents are more fearful than the students, right? And they're like just afraid that people won't accept their kids. And so they want them to only go to camps or go to schools or stay in classrooms where they're like, you know, with other people like them. But like Miss Gonsalves was saying, and like a lot of those students were saying in those documentaries, that that's not like going to push them, propel them to be the person, right, that they might have been, like the lady who led the activism, right, to change civil rights for disability. Imagine if she had just been forced to stay in like one kind of box, right? She would never have perhaps created some of those things to make equal rights, just to have like they said, even like the ramps, right, to go across the street and different things that were not even like
Mm-hmm.
at all a policy yet, as far into like it was like the 60s with like Nixon and everything. So it was not far away at all historically, that this is just, yeah. Okay.
That's
So
amazing. I actually have one. So my editor, and this is why it's so awesome to have different perspectives, because my editor, who does not have a disability, said, well, from someone who doesn't have what you have, you need to add a page in your book about you getting down the stairs into the car.
mhm.
And I thought, well, that's boring. I don't think anyone cares about that. She said, no, I mean, you had to do it differently. You couldn't just run down the stairs. So I don't know if I have the picture with me. I think my illustrator is still working on it. But she did draw a picture of me kind of like bumping and lumping down the stairs. And then my dad lifts me up at the end, which he always did. And he would always say, Emma Grace, the princess, has arrived. And so the whole picture is kind of me pretending like I'm on a throne, and my little cat is always in the pictures, and she had like a little tiara on, and my wheelchair was the carriage, right? So my family always made it fun, but knowing those transitions, like living in an old house with 3 floors was really hard for someone with MD, right? Going to the beach, they don't have ramps for people to the water. So things like that, things that we take advantage every day, people like me might have to think about those things every day. Can I get access to that restaurant? How do I get down the stairs? How do I get in the car? Oh, we can't go there because my wheelchair won't be able to make it. That store is too tiny. My wheelchair won't be able to make it through the aisles, right? So, and those are things that I hope my readers ask questions about.
Mhm. Remember
But this,
in the video that we watched the other day, sorry, I keep bringing that up. They just
no, go ahead.
last week. So in the Crip Camp documentary, remember the guy who was really wanting to participate in the protest in New York, but they literally didn't even have ramps to go down to the subway. So he had to literally drag himself along like the handles. and he had to get out of his wheelchair and just barely made it there. But that speaks so much to what Miss Gonsalves was talking about, right? She didn't have like the regular everyday experience of running down the stairs that so many of us take for granted, right? And so before like policies were put in place and disability rights acts were put in to provide those things just in everyday society, for those accommodations, that people just had to make it work however they were able to. And if they don't have a supportive family like Miss Gonsalves did, right, then they were just totally like left out in the dark. Perhaps, you know, would have to face like horrific realities, like those people who were in the institutions and things like that we watched about.
So wild. I'm gonna have to watch that documentary.
It was so good. Yeah. I'm so excited I watched it. My dad, he used to be a therapist, so he always like introduced me to different things. I remember going to one of his sessions, and one of his patients' sons came, and he had like a helmet, because he would have like spasms, and he would like hit his own head, right, and could injure himself. And I just remember like just thinking like, you know, if somebody wasn't open to having like someone's child come with them, they might not have been able to come to therapy and different things like that. There's just so many little things that people don't think about if they're not having to deal with disabilities themselves or their children, right? Disabilities, things like that.
And I always think too, like the people who are planning those events and making those laws, making those rules, creating those companies, it's very rare to see someone with a disability doing those things. Like even architects, how many architects are going to look through a disabled lens?
Yep.
And so I always think that, you know, hopefully this story will make people think even more because it's coming from someone who's lived this. And I just think we need way more people in charge who can think through this lens and, you know, always take in consideration those people who might not be able to access what they're making.
I'm really excited that you're particularly talking to this. This is my 1020 class, and I know for a fact some of the people who are going to be watching this video, they speak up, right, about disabilities that they have, whether it's like a speaking disability, whether it's autism, whether it's, I mean, there is a variety of disabilities that they've openly shared, but even some, right, who perhaps have disabilities who are not comfortable, hopefully after seeing a book like this, or you could create your own, right, like scholarship about things like this, that's your story and your representation. So hopefully this will inspire you, right, to be your voice, to be a voice for other people in future generations that don't have one yet.
I love that. And I actually felt, you know, for all the students who might be feeling nervous about that, I hid my disability for so long. And I even remember trying to move my knees in a way they can't move, and then going home and being so exhausted from trying to change my body to try to fit in. And if it gets to the point where you just say, I am who I am, and maybe I have this for a reason, and maybe I can influence just one person even. And so think about, you know, think deep down and, you know, why you might have been given what you're given. Maybe it's your special gift. And I know it might not always seem like a gift, but I think it is, because we get to see the world differently than other people do. And that is really special. So take that and know that so many people would love to hear your story, even though you don't think it might be welcomed. People are going to embrace it and love it. So just be brave, because you have something really special to share.
Do you remember, I know it's so recent, but the lady, her name's Amanda, I want to say it's Gourmand. She's the one that gave the poem, the amazing poem, the Youth Poet Laureate at President Biden's inauguration. Yes. They said that she had a speech impediment, and it was just like a testament again. And so does President Biden. Like, people who have speech impediments, people who have disabilities, right, can push themselves, can do these amazing feats. And there's no limitation, literally. It's just you need to keep other people doing it sometimes, or have the courage to do it the first, right, to inspire other people.
I think that's such a wonderful point. And so I think we have to be careful, people who have some sort of difference or disability, because we could easily take that and say, sorry, I can't do it. And so my whole life I've been, I can't do it this way, but I can do it this way. And so I just started seeing a physical trainer, and I meet with her 3-4 times a week, and I'm always at the gym and working out. And she'll say, can you do a push-up? I'm like, I can't do it this way, but is there another way we can do a push-up? Because you bet your bottom dollar I'll be doing that push-up this morning. I just might have to take a different avenue to get there. And that's the best mindset to have, because your whole world will start to open up when you start advocating for yourself.
I love that mindset
Yeah.
change. Yep.
Oh, I love it. Well, I wanted to share this video with you because
Yeah.
this is actually a video that my illustrator did to kind of show the steps of how to design an illustration. So I think this took her like 5 hours to do, but it starts off with just a blank piece of paper, and this is what she makes.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And it's so quick, but it took her 5 hours to do it, and I just find that insane.
That is so cool. I have a friend
Right.
who was an art teacher, and I know that it takes like an insane amount of time to do those things, and I definitely can't even draw a stick figure. So that's like amazing.
It is amazing to me. I know it. Do I have time to show one more picture? I'm trying to find a special one that I think really speaks to, let's see.
I love seeing this. Again, y'all are like literally getting to see something, the first ever, right? Before it's published from the
Really
author.
first ever. No one else has seen these pictures, so this is so exciting.
That's so cool.
Yes. And it's amazing how long it takes to do every picture by hand. I am just so floored by my illustrator. She is amazing.
I always love like to go back and see the movies that were, you know, hand drawn. And then when they went back and started doing that again, like The Princess and the Frog, it was both like iconic because it was like the first ever Black princess for Disney, but also because it was like they took it back, right, and did the hand drawn. I love like old fashioned sometimes is like the best.
Absolutely. And I think this story means so much to us. We didn't want to cut corners.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to draw my feet a certain way and things like that. I know I have this picture somewhere, so I'm so sorry, Miss Hanson. I am.
Oh no, you're fine. We literally dedicated our entire class to hearing you speak today, and then we're just going to talk about it afterwards. They're going to have a discussion board about it, so
oh, that's amazing. Fine.
Yeah.
Please let me know if any of the students have questions or want to reach out. I would love to answer any questions anyone has, or
I will definitely
even take
your email.
Take feedback from people too if they have suggestions. I don't know how to write a book, right? I'm doing it and I'm gonna make it work, but this is my first time. So if anyone has any suggestions, this is a very, very basic sketch. But the reason why this is so important is because we had to talk a lot about what we want, how we wanted to introduce my legs. Mm-hmm. And so at first, my initial reaction is always to never show my legs. Like, if you could draw me, just my face for the first few, you know, and my illustrator had to say, no, this is what it was. You had your, you know, I described them as my twig-like legs with my itchy bear casts. And so she's like, we should do a picture of you kind of in an aerial view looking down on your legs. And that's exactly what they looked like. And when I first saw this drawn, I just kind of like gasped. Like, it kind of took me a second to really embrace this. Like, oh gosh, those were my legs. That's hard to see. But then I thought, well, how many other kids out there would see this and say, oh my gosh, my legs have looked like that? Or maybe kids who've never had to go through that and say, wow, I would love to learn more about that.
Right.
That to me is more powerful than me feeling a little bit uncomfortable, because it really is my life being drawn. And every picture is, hey, you know, I remember having to tell her, hey, my toes weren't straight. We have to draw them bent. And I really hate that we have to do that, but my little toes weren't straight like that. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, my knees were bent in even more. Can you draw them even more bent? And so to have those conversations have really pushed me, and I'm really grateful for this experience.
I love also the point that you just made about people who have not had to go through this experience, and like literally the empathy piece is so important, especially right now, all the things that we've seen happening right in 2020 and 2021, like 2020 part 2. But
right.
Like thinking through things that maybe you haven't had to experience, but other people have, and learning how to truly like sometimes be silent and let other people tell their story and let them like speak and then think through process, right? And then if you need to speak, then do. But sometimes really just letting other people have the platform, have the mic to talk about their experience is so beneficial to the world. And right, things like this, right, that definitely need to be shown, that definitely need to be seen, that even the person that's writing them, right, maybe even feel vulnerable about it, but definitely, right, other people don't necessarily need to speak about it, right, unless they've experienced it. So important again for this representation, and we're so excited that you got to come speak to us. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you so much for thinking of me and for having me. And please, please feel free to give out my email. I would love to answer any questions or just suggestions or any thoughts that anyone wants to share, or if I can help you guys with your project in any way, let me know. And I would love to be part of this discussion. So
Thank you so much. They're actually, their third paper they're doing their proposal essay on is about like problems in our city. And a lot of them are not from Nashville, right? So they're going to have to do some real research about things that they might care about fundamentally, either because of the area where they're at or because of their race or because of whatever, right? But they're going to have to go find a problem that they need to create a proposal solution for. But I just thought that your solution and your proposal, right, for writing a children's book for people that don't have representation was such just an amazing feat. And again, I'm so excited and honored that you were able to come speak to us today. So thank you so
thank
much, Ms.
you.
Gonsalves.
Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful discussion, and I hope you all, loved it. And I hope that you guys learned something new. And you guys are lucky to have Ms. Hansen. She's the best teacher. And reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you.